Today we've got another episode of Behind the Broker, with which is a podcast for mortgage brokers, just to talk to some of the top people in the industry, find out a little bit more about them and maybe some of their kind of mistakes and their growth plans and that kind of thing, and see what we can see any advice that we can give to anyone up and coming. So today I've got Andrew Montlake with me, more commonly known as Monty. He is the MD of Coreco. Thanks for joining me, Monty.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So we could just start with, tell me about your financial services journey. I know it's a long one, so keep it short. And,
how long have you got?
And talk to me about Coreco and how it went from kind of initial thought to what it is today, which is one of the industry giants.
First of all, thank you for having me. I started in, like most people really, you sort of fall into this wonderful, weird, exciting, stressful
everyone wants
industry.
To be a mortgage broker when they're at school.
I woke up one morning going, I know what I want to do. No, I left Leeds Uni or Leeds Poly rather, and didn't really know what to do, but actually I wanted to do marketing and PR really. So I got a job in an ad agency, and at the time the ad agency was the ad world was a bit quiet, and there were 3 graduates in a post room earning $7,500 a year, and they said, "Don't worry, we'll promote from within." But of course, 6 months later, I was still there thinking I can't do this anymore. So I did a bit stint as a direct marketer, working for people like Diet Coke and going around and marketing their wares all over, and did that for a year, and then thought, you know what, I need a proper job. So I sort of went into saw that John Charcoal were advertising for admin people, and thought, you know what, maybe I'll do that. I met the first person who really inspired me, actually, was a guy called Ian Darby, who was a marketing guru behind Charcoal and everything they were doing. And I told him that in 10 years' time I wanted his job. And actually I've been lucky to be able to do marketing and PR and mortgage broking, and sort of which is something that I became passionate about, and helping people and etc.
How did Coreco come about then? How was the like, from initial startup to where it is today? How did that?
So we were the founders of Coreco. We were basically, or most of us, were the management team in another company that went down in the credit crunch. Yeah. So we all got made redundant, and we thought, well, what the hell are we going to do now? And there were 4 of us who got together and thought, actually, do you know what? Why don't we start our own company and try and be the idiots in control and do something?
There's so many businesses now, like so many of our clients who were born out of that.
Where absolutely.
Kind of, didn't particularly want to do it at the time, didn't really have a lot of other choices. So loads of great businesses were born out of kind of the credit crunch and that having to knuckle down and try and make some cash for a few years.
Yeah, it was really tough. So we started with about 10, 12 of us, the day the FTSE hit its low point, and we just thought, actually, we want to do things a little bit differently. We really wanted to be really relaxed and chilled, and try and prove that mortgage broking doesn't need to be rocket science or hide behind suit and ties or anything like that. It was we just wanted to be really down to earth and relate to people, look after introducers. We really understood how to look after estate agents, and how to also do things like corporates, where we look after employee benefits, and that was sort of our blueprint, to try and just do things a little bit differently and really embrace things like social media, PR, and the like.
Just touching on that, actually, because I do think it's really poignant that some of the best people that I speak to in this industry have come from marketing, or they understand that how important it is. I think Someone else said to me actually, like we're not a mortgage company, we're a marketing company, sell mortgages.
Yeah.
I think it's really
Yeah.
kind of it's interesting that you've come from that background and you've grown such a successful business. Do you think do you think there's a correlation between the two? Do you think it's important to kind of get that grasp of it?
I think it is important, but I think actually everyone. I look around. There's some fabulous businesses in this industry, and you don't have to be big to be fabulous. There are some fabulous, smaller businesses, even 2 or 3 people, and I tell you what, they market themselves a darn sight better than
Well, I was going to say,
we do.
there's also some really big, best kept secrets in the industry as well, where they are very good at what they do, but they don't know
Yeah,
how to market
absolutely.
themselves. So it's an
I
interesting
do
one, I
see
think.
that correlation a lot. That the best businesses who really understand what they stand for and the clientele they want to attract, and they understand marketing, and especially now social media, they do tend to be the ones who stand above the others.
Well, I was talking to someone the other day about a similar thing when I said that none of us have got an exclusive product. You know what I mean? Like we're
Yeah.
all in the same boat. It's just how we market ourselves is the difference maker, really. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously we've
as
got
I've always said,
taxes,
yeah.
etc., and making sure our staffing, everything's up to date. But actually, how we market ourselves is how we're put our head above the parapet. I mean, it
Yeah.
goes without saying, don't be a knob and actually be good at your job. But there's lots of people who can do that. You know?
Yeah, there are lots of knobs out there as well. I think some people think I'm one of them. Yeah, I mean, but just basically going back to that, we basically sell other people's products to people who don't want them, because they don't want a mortgage. They want the house. They
middleman,
want the
really.
dream. We're just the necessary evil. So actually, it is all about marketing. It's all about marketing ourselves, and people need to buy into us as an advisor on a personal level. They need to buy into the brand. And especially the way things are going now, where people actually look at business and they want to see themselves reflected in that business. That's why things like the green agenda are important. It's why things like diversity and inclusivity is important. It's why language is really important. So all these things people want to see in the companies that they're dealing with now. They want to see something more than just, "Oh, we'll help you get a mortgage."
And do you think that is what? Do you think that's like a metric of your success, just in regards to how you position yourself, or actually aiming at your clientele? I see a lot of mortgage brokers, especially smaller businesses, where they kind of don't really know what they're pointing their marketing at. Do you know what I mean? I think they see a lot of people who chat a lot to other
Yeah.
mortgage brokers instead of speaking to their customers, and I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting to get your take.
Yeah, I think it's got there's a whole new breed of broker and smaller firm coming up now who really understand it. I think there are still a lot of, I call them dinosaurs, sorry, who think actually, oh, it'll always be the same, things will never change, etc. But I think it does change.
If you look at the big losses we've had since it got tied to the last couple of years, there's been like a 20-year mortgage broker, 25, and I think a 17. I think that's quite poignant. And like you said, if you're always doing things the same, it don't change. This is all the way we've always done it. Then when you don't pivot when the market changes, I think you're. I mean, that's a massive red flag for anyone. The fact that you can be going that long and then still stumble along in a tight market.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's tricky. I mean, you really see. I mean, tight markets are really difficult, and we're in a really difficult market now. And I think there will be some good firms who suffer. It doesn't necessarily make you a bad firm just because you might not make it.
Out of interest, Monty, is it harder for you being a bigger business, because we don't get loads of what are you, 60, 70 people there?
We're now about 53.
53,
Now.
yeah. So
53.
there's not
54.
many businesses of your size, but there's so many one-man bands in our business, and there's so many two-man bands. There's not really many of those larger brokers. Do you find has it been tougher for you? For instance, like we're a six-man band, so we can say like we've got 6 mouths to feed. That's what we've got to do to get through this. Is what we've got to do. Is it kind of tougher for you because you obviously because it's a scaling thing, or is it the same kind of problems you're going to get if you're 3 or 4 man band compared to what you guys are?
I think it's you go into this. You're either small enough to be really nimble and to make really quick decisions and to ride out hard times, or you can have economies of scale where actually you can cut costs pretty quickly if you need to. I think when you're sort of between 40 and 100, you're probably in that red zone where it is really hard, because if things get too bad and you do need to cut, you're sort of cutting into the soul of the company, and it's quite tricky. And so you're at this place where expenses are at a level that are quite hard to move quickly. So it is an issue. My wife said to me the other day, she said, "Oh, your business always gets unwieldy and difficult every time you go over 40 people," and she's probably right.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that's the sticking point?
I think it's where
that's mortgage brokerage, like the industry as a whole, don't tend to get above that unless you're one of the big, where they've got multi-sites or they're all in the back of an estate agent somewhere, where it's, or some of the less desirable self-employed chucked in the back of nowhere, no help, that kind of thing. Actual proper brokerages, it must be, it must be tough.
Yeah, I think it's
just getting above that 40. There must be a reason for it.
Yeah, I think it's because that's when you really have to put in structure. You can't really get away with not having structure and management and HR, and if you need compliance and et cetera, and that's where it gets. And staff issues are, especially at the moment, everyone needs a helping hand, or they need, it's like managing a team, really. You've got to work out which are the ones who respond well to an arm around the shoulder and which are the ones respond better to a kick, and
you still have to do that even in the business your size. It's not not like one size fits all. You still got to manage everyone kind of separately, like you would, like we would, because we're a small team. Is it still the same for you, where you've got to kind of look after the individuals? Was it?
I think that's always been my personal belief. Is maybe I'm wrong. Look, I have a problem with the word success in terms of, are we successful? No, I don't think we are. I don't think.
How do you define
I don't look at us and think.
How do you define the?
I think I've struggled with defining it. I think I think we're good in a lot of ways, but we could be so much better in so many other ways. And I don't like sort of looking at one company and going, yeah, we're the best, or we're so much better than the others, because I tell you what, as I say,
I think that's an exciting prospect that we're never the finished article. I think if you
I don't think we're even close.
If you sat down and said we have completed it, like what's the? You don't really need an MD anymore, then do you? It just sort of floats along.
No, that'd be nice.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? I think it's a nice thing that I said it again. We're in a growing phase. It was very much like that, where we're nowhere near as good as we're going to be next week, but we're better than we were last week, and it's continual. Does that still feel the same for you? Does it always feel like growing, always learning? Yeah,
I think it feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back all the time, because every time you go forward, you learn something else, and you have to step back and take a look at it. And I'm always brutally honest, maybe too honest, about the company, about how we're doing, about what I'm feeling, etc. I'm very much someone who wears their heart on the sleeve, and that's really the only way I know how to be. And I think that is good, because it shows that I'm authentic. And a lot of the things we do as a company, whether it's D&I or equality or anything like that, it's not just a tick box. It's something that comes from that comes from within. And whilst we don't get everything right, that the that the heart and soul is there, and
Yeah.
that we will try and get it right as much as we can. I think it's about being able to go home every night, looking yourself in the mirror, and going, right, did I do the best? Was I as honest with people, etc.? And that's really important for me. It doesn't make me rich,
well,
but
Monty?
hey,
Sorry, have you always done that? Just in regards to kind of the open book side of things. It's quite innovative for businesses in the UK, like Americans do. In the States, everyone does, don't they? Like, you know exactly what's happening. It's much more emotional led, and they understand where the business is. Whereas I think British businesses, especially, we seem to be quite insular with kind of keeping it to ourselves and that kind of thing. Have you always done it? Is it like a new thing for you? Have you?
I've always been like that personally. Yeah, and I think actually every iteration of Coreco has tried to be like that as much as possible, because that's important. You know, we're nothing without our people, nothing at all.
I think that is important as well. You know, like if you're open and honest, like when it's tough, it's tough. But then no one thinks you're dick swinging when you're doing well, because you're doing well. So you're going to be honest about that as well. You know, it's nice to have both sides. It's not all kind of doom and gloom as well. When you have the good years,
it's what I say to brokers generally. What I say generally is don't get too low in the down times, but don't get too high in the up times.
Yeah,
it's about enjoy it. Work harder when you need to, but try and keep that balance. And it's very difficult. I talk a good game, but it's quite hard to do it yourself as well.
I'm just a straight
guy. I'm really not like that. I am very up and down.
I'm the same. I'm emotionally charged about everything. I get excited about everything, and then if it doesn't work out. But at the same time, I think it's something to be said for being optimistic. You know, I think it's important to have that kind of optimism, even though I think mine may be foolish optimism when I always think things are just going to be better. But
yeah, you've got to be cautiously optimistic. If you're not optimistic and you're always negative, then there's no real point.
I think I need to add the caution bit onto mine rather than just optimistic. Yeah. Everything's going to be fine. You don't want to go the other end of the spectrum, do you, where you're sticking your head in the sand. But at the same time, I genuinely believe that. But I do. Like, for instance, we've been through a fairly tough time this year. I don't know how you feel, like how we're coming out of it. What do you sense kind of beginning of next year, kind of Q1, Q2? Are you optimistic, or is it more the same?
I think it's about riding it out. I really do, because I think actually for the firms that are able to ride it out, say from Q2 onwards next year, I think it's going to be good, and there's going to be loads of opportunity. There's been pent up demand for ages. We talked about this pent up demand, and it was released a little bit a couple of years ago, but actually now we're building up even more pent up demand. So
that's a bit like the old champagne corks.
Yeah,
like it's eventually it's going to pop. As long as there's no more world wars or stupid budgets.
Well, I don't know. Every year seems to find its own hold my beer.
It'd be lovely if we could just take a 3-year run at business with nothing, no interruptions.
I know,
just
that's all I want. Years. Yeah, I'll take 2 years, to be honest.
Yeah, take a year, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be nice. So yeah, you're always trying to react to something at the moment, and that's the problem.
Yeah, it'd be bored if it was easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It'll be bored and rich.
So yeah, I know that would be nice.
Just so in regards to kind of the new changes, the new normal, if you like, how's it? Again, I'm always coming to this out of interest because of the size of your business, but how is it to get your team to adapt to the new normal? Is it kind of organic, or is it something that you've had to sit them down and go, look, this is just the market now? How's it gone for you?
Yeah, I think it's been. I think that's been a big challenge. Actually, is there are people there who have experienced it before and they'll be fine. Some of that are more experienced self-employed guys and girls. You know, they'll be fine. They know what it's like. But there's a whole new swathe of brokers out there who haven't experienced this. They haven't experienced the slowdown. They don't understand why the phone stops ringing.
Or what to do when the phone stops ringing. I think it's more,
exactly. And it's trying to educate them that actually, a lot of the hard work you put in now, you might be speaking to people who won't want to do anything right now, but that doesn't mean you don't talk to them. A lot of the hard work you're doing now.
It's so short-sighted of people to stop doing business because you don't make money. I'm honestly, we go to see people with my clients, and they're like, oh, no one really comes to see us because we're not spending any money. And I think you're not in it for the long game unless you know what I mean. If someone's not paying you right now, it's happening eventually as long as you keep your hand in. I just think it's so short-sighted of people. Brokers, recruiters, anything. I think it's the same for anyone who just not looking after your customers when they're not spending money with you is ludicrous.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's and that's what's really important. And I think then just understanding, do you know what? This isn't just me bullshitting. This isn't just a Coreco thing. This really is the market, and actually,
we genuinely see that as well, Monty, where people have gone, they're going to with ridiculous offers because obviously my company's struggling at the moment. It's a market thing. Understand your industry is a market problem. It's not a company problem. Everyone, if everyone's 30% down, and someone else is offering you 30% up, they're either a one-man band and they're just sorting their marketing out, or they're lying.
Yeah. And we are starting to see a lot more CVs around now, as sadly,
everyone thinks that's easier for us, but it's worse because it's a little bit like if mortgages are easy. It's worse for us because I don't want to be detrimental to anyone being made redundant, but you don't get rid of your best people first. That's the potential issue, which means there's more people floating around, which tends to mean that if you're hiring for the best to up the mean average of your team, it's a bit of a tougher job because obviously there's more people around. So it doesn't make the market any easier than when there's more people looking.
No, I think it is a good market to start in, because when I started back in the day, the market was not dissimilar to this, maybe a little bit better, but I remember the first 5-year fix. Show my age, I remember the first 5-year fix that was flying out the door was a Bank of Ireland 9.99% 5-year fix, and that was flying because it was under
relative,
10%.
though, wasn't it, in regards to house prices and stuff?
Yeah,
I know we don't
it was relative.
Old man, you would go back in my day, but
yeah. I know. I mean, obviously, house prices were much cheaper then, but yeah, it was a tough market. So actually, when we had the good times and the crazy times, that was the unbelievable bit. Actually.
Yeah.
And then when they went away again, that became a little bit more. Oh yeah, this is mortgage broking. This is more normal.
Well, I think that's at the moment. This is mortgage broking, because you can't go to your bank. This is the time when you need the broker. It's tough. It's but you've actually got to find solutions for people. And I do think this isn't disparaging again on the new people in the industry, but through no fault of their own, they haven't seen any tough times through maybe 8 to 10 years.
No,
so actually,
it's
right, probably, if we look at it from a manager's point of view, we've never really warmed these people up to go, when it gets tough, this is what you've got to do. So it's hard to. So you would assume a guy being in 8 years is quite experienced. But actually, he's never experienced this before. So it's a very different market to try and teach someone who has never had to kind of hunt for bit work. Actually have to sell. But do your job better. So it's, I don't think it's so much the new generation. I think it's just that they've had a relatively easy time of it.
Yeah, I think it's just been the last decade or so that has been like that. And now it's
funny. You speak to some of the guys who go,
different.
It was tough. It was tough during lockdown. And you go, well, everyone made money. Wasn't that tough?
It was tough
to go work from home.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's tougher now. I think this is the toughest trading conditions since credit crunch. Now,
whoa! We don't make distinctions between now and 2008. That's we always do it like Vietnam. I said, if you think this is 2008, you weren't there, man.
No, I know. It's not the same, but it's the toughest since there. Since then, because I think everyone thought the Brexit vote was hard, but actually it wasn't. Even lockdown after the initial 6-week period where
Yeah,
or
drinking
2
wine with
months
your
where
frosties for
it
6
was
weeks, and then all of a sudden back to broken.
then it was quite mad for a bit, and then but since the Truss and Kwarteng debacle, it's been really hard, and this period right now is the
Well,
hardest
it
I've
completely wiped
experienced
us out
since
Q4
then.
last year. You know, in all being completely open and transparent, we had a good year up to that point, and I was like, I thought Q4, this is pretty much going to be profit, and then they brought out that wonderful budget, and I went, oh,
Yeah,
so we're not making any money this year then, because
no,
it just
exactly. No, we were
it
the
wiped out
same.
the end of the
It
year, didn't
killed
it?
us. Yeah,
Mm.
it really did. We had 3
No
good
one's no
months.
one's budgeting for 3 quarters of the year. Do you know what I mean?
No,
It just absolutely it rocked stuff. It
yeah,
rocked the industry, didn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And I don't think they quite realise, and still don't realise, the damage they did to
I
everyone.
think that goes a lot to say about them. They probably still don't know.
No, no.
So, in regards to, well, I know you said about the social media side of things. So, obviously, you've been around a long while, and this has changed. I know you do your podcast for in the mortgage industry, right, don't you?
Yeah.
And obviously, yeah, like I said, social media's changed. So, how does that still make a big difference to big business like yours? Is it still like personal branding? Because you obviously got like your 1 or 2 man band mortgage advisors, like you said, they can pivot on their marketing stuff. They're bang bang and they're selling it, but actually people are buying, although they're buying from the individual brokers with you, they're buying from Coreco. So is it how do you navigate that in the social media world?
I think it's still just as important, if not more so. And actually, because we're not corporate, we have advantages there.
Yeah.
Because if we want to do something, we can do it. As long as obviously it's not taking the piss out of FCA rules.
Do you know what?
Because,
I speak to. I mean, obviously, I know we're network wise, we work with the same people, but I speak to so many people who they've still got those dinosaur networks who, if they want to put up a social media post, it takes 3 days to come back. They've got to get it all through. I'm like, that's not this world, like.
no, it's
Our
not
news
this
is
world.
reactive. It
Yeah,
happens straight away, then it's gone tomorrow, and everyone's
yeah,
forgotten about it.
yeah,
I don't know how they can still function like that. And they're the ones that
yeah.
are the dinosaurs that still take
There was
4
a
or
lot
5
of
months.
education. First of all, when we did join, when we started, there was a lot of education around because I was already doing PR marketing, etc. Social media. I was one of the first to do mortgage blog and podcasts. And there was a bit of first it was, well, obviously you have to give us all your stuff to sign it off first of all, and I just said no. I literally
Well, that's
just
it. No, because
dug my
I
heels in
feel
and
like
said no. You don't
you've got an
understand how
appointed
it works.
representative. You trust these people to go out in your network and sell, but then you don't trust them enough that they're not going to say something stupid on a social media post. I mean, we all say stupid stuff on social media, but not to the point that it's detrimental to the business. And I think those networks that make you sign it off like a child are just it baffles
Yeah,
me.
I
'Cause you
think
trust
there's
them enough to know.
education that needs to be there. So we have a social media policy, and we know the FCA rules, and I know
That's what I mean, Monty. You
around.
would assume with these networks, you should put it in place that everyone understands the social media policies and then what not to do. Now run with it. Like you can't then go, oh, okay, we need to check everything you do. Surely they're like they're businessmen at the end of the day. So it should be a
Yeah,
trusted appointed rep that you can
yeah,
go.
yeah. I mean, there has to be there has to be some monitoring, and there has to be some due diligence done by the networks on the ARs. Of course, there does.
Yeah.
And if they make a mistake, then they have to deal with it. But yeah, it's about making sure that the training's right, making sure you trust people, and making sure that they know the difference between a financial promotion and a social media post, because they are very different. We still do financial promotions, but you know what? I get them signed off because I know it's a financial promotion, so I have to get it
And
signed
they're
off.
not
That's
reactive, are
fine.
they? There's something that you plan
No,
and it's
that's
happening. Yeah. So it's
yeah.
more the reactive social media stuff that I think is incredible that you have to get signed.
Yeah, I think people do need to be careful because it is something the FCA are looking at. And I have seen certainly over the past 12 months or so, some more questionable more social content that I look at it and think, do you know what, guys, that is actually a financial promotion, and actually I can see what you're doing, but you don't realise that is a financial promotion. So for anyone doing it, I would definitely advise just reacquaint yourself with the rules and what you can and what you can't do. If you aren't sure, yeah, if you aren't sure, you know what, talk to your network. If you're if you're a DA, then talk to the FCA. They're really good. The FCA are really good. If you talk to them and speak to them, they will help you. Or obviously, you've got the Association of Mortgage Intermediaries, who will also help. They're really good. They've got some guidelines on the new rules. So it's there was a lot of help out there.
How has that come about? Because is that just the mortgage intermediaries side of things? Is that was that kind of a brainchild of someone, or is that
who's at the Association of Mortgage Intermediaries?
Yes.
No, they're
like get together and make sure we keep level playing field, or somewhere where people can go and ask questions and that kind of thing, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, Amy came out of IAFA, which was the Association of Financial Advisors, and actually, when Robert Sinclair was with there, they split off to form Amy, and so Amy are the official trade body who represents all firms within the mortgage industry. Right. So our job is to make sure that intermediary firms' interests are held within the FCA, within the Treasury and government, working with other trade bodies like UK Finance and IMLA, etc., to make sure that that we have a really good experience for all our firms, that we keep regulated in the right way, etc. And they've done some incredible work around consumer duty and around back in the day when mortgage regulation came in, and really, you know, things like really they've done some really good things. So the industry works in the way that it does today, because without them,
would you advise
you sort of have regulators and government. Hey,
so would you advise kind of new brokers or new broker owners to get involved in that kind of thing, to make sure that you it's a bit of buying power, isn't it, or a bit of knowledge power that you've got, shared knowledge?
I think it's knowledge and help and the chance to influence a debate as well, because, you know, with full disclosure, I am the chairman, so obviously I'm biased, but you know, we sat down recently with Rachel Reeves, the Shadow Chancellor, around what possibly the housing policy and could look like in the future.
You feel like you get listened to?
I do actually. I do, and I wasn't sure when I first got involved, but and I think the FCA has gone through several iterations, but I think actually the current incumbents of the FCA, I think are really good, and I think there's a really good relationship between Amy and the FCA. I think there's a good relationship between us and the other trade bodies as well. And I think what's really, really interesting is a lot of people look at the Amy board and think, oh, it's just the big people going in, running the market. But it's not like that at all. It really is. People leave their egos and their company ideals at the door. And actually, it really is a lot of people talking about how can we make the mortgage industry a better place for those working within it and for our clients. And it's really important that people understand that there's no hidden agenda. There's no, you know, we can't talk about commerciality or anything like that. We have practitioners in there who come from small brokerages, you know, like yourself, who know what's happening at the ground level. I'm the first practitioner who's a chairman, so we do bring that down-to-earth approach to actually what does matter to the average broker and the average broker firm out there.
Good. So they do kind of get their voices heard.
Yeah, definitely, and I definitely encourage everyone to get involved with it. And there are some really good ways of communication and into that to make sure that your voice is heard, and we can amplify that voice in the right way.
Oh, nice. So, just going back to something you said previously, you were saying about now is probably not a bad time to maybe start a business. Like we said before, that a lot of good businesses were born out of the credit crunch. What advice could you give to people at the moment if they are starting out? Kind of any pitfalls that you might have come across, or any amazing life hacks that you think will save someone hours, days, years of their growth plans?
I think it's there are several things. Don't don't expect it to be easy. Make sure you have a realistic conversation with your family about how much time it's going to take.
We always speak to people about the mortgage brokers who are going out on their own because they're good mortgage brokers, and they go, the one thing you have to remember is you might not get to do the thing you're really good at. So you want to own a business. It's very different from being a good mortgage advisor going out on your own, because
absolutely,
you don't get to do the stuff that you are good at, that made you money, that made you great. Actually, you deal with 100 different other things that you have to take into consideration.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to admit you're wrong and change and pivot. A lot of people talk about pivoting, but that's really, really important within a business. It's really good to have. You can have a long-term vision that doesn't change.
When you've got, sorry, Monty, how easy is that for you? Like if you're going to do something, it's wrong. Does it come quite easy to go, look, that's not right, let's change it? Or do you? Because for me personally, I'm a bit of a force of we can make that work. We can make it work. And like it's a bad relationship. You should have left it 6 months ago, but you don't. Is that easy for you to kind of say, look, I didn't do that right, let's move on? Was it a bit of a struggle with yourself?
I wouldn't say it's easy, but you get to trust your gut a lot more as time goes on, as an experience. There's, as I say, all of us make mistakes all the time, but there are some that you can now see coming a mile off, and
do you think that's just time in the game now?
Sure, you react. Yeah, I think there's a bit of that. I think what time in the game gives you is it gives you more confidence to trust your instinct.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that your instinct is wrong if you haven't had time in the game, because your instinct is your instinct. And you always, going back to that looking at yourself in the mirror, you always have to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and accept yourself or not. And that's what's important. I'd always say you've got to be authentic. You've got to be true to yourself. Don't try and be something you're not. Don't try and grow a company just because you think it should look like that, but that doesn't really match your individual viewpoint. The company.
So we always say to people,
we
always ask them why they're doing it, because some people don't know, and you think, well, what's your company going to look like? Is it going to be you head honcho, or you just running the show and everyone being off their own? People don't have that vision at the beginning. You really struggle later on, don't you, with actually
absolutely
getting everyone aligned.
That vision is really important. Yeah, clarity of vision is really important. There's a great book which I'd advise everyone to read, which is called Traction, which is an EOS system of working, and we're not there yet, but it's something that I'm trying to incorporate into the business, and that will give you a really good steer into what you need to do to run a business.
I think that's important as well. I know you mentioned then, you get the points in the business, like the 40 to 100 and the lower, and you said about building the different management structures and that kind of thing. Do you think it's important to make sure you've got that? Oh, blimey.
Oh.
Balloons went off behind me. I don't know if you heard that.
I was going to say, you've been shot.
Yeah, I don't even know where that came from. Do you think it is completely through me? Just in regards to kind of building the foundations, do you think it's important to make sure you've got everything in place and then build a team, or do you think you can build a team and then kind of start putting things in place? Where do you sit with what side of the business you build first? Operational, sales?
I think you've got to be realistic, and let's face it, when you start a business, everyone does. If you've got 5 of you, there'll be at least 3 of you who are doing different jobs. You'll be doing several jobs, especially if you're running it. You're doing several jobs. You are the sales director. You are head of marketing. You are head of HR. You're head of compliance. You know, you're IT. All these things. IT, yeah. Don't get me started on that. Yeah. So all these things. So it is very difficult. You do have to be realistic. You can't go in and put structure in place straight away. But I think one thing we actually did do quite well when we started, and there were 5 or 6 of us, is we did define each of our roles. So whether it was MD, marketing and PR, finance, introducers, etc., that type of thing, that actually worked quite well. It works quite well to a point, until you get to a point where other people fancy doing everyone else's job.
Yeah, I can do that.
but when you start off, you have to sort of have that singularity of, okay, well actually I'm doing this. This is how we're going to make decisions. That make it really clear how you make decisions.
That helps with accountability in regards to, well, that's your job. You know that is, because that's outlined in your job role. I think we're as bad at that as a lot of people, where we probably haven't written job specifications for ourselves. Ironically, we do it for a living for other people. You know, because you're kind of a jack of all trades, aren't you, at the beginning? So you just do everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are. And that's the reality of it. Yeah. And that's okay. It's okay to have that. I think it's all buying into the same vision is the most important thing. Making sure that you respect each other, making sure that you have ways to make decisions, making sure that you have ways to, when you do disagree, what happens. What happens then?
As in, like, a process of that, rather than just
actually have a process in that, you know, if you got 4 people running a company and 2 agree and 2 disagree, what happens? What do you do? Yeah. How do you work that out?
How's that been for you then, with having more than, or having different heads at the top for a long time?
It was really difficult, actually. We started with 6 of us.
Because there's 6 egos, isn't there? And 6 thought processes and how you want to see the business. So to get everyone's vision aligned with 2 of you is hard enough, I know. So like with 6 of you, it must be quite a task initially.
Well, let's put it this way: there are 2 of us now.
Oh, okay.
But
that's what happened. I see this a lot. I don't want to say to everyone who's going out there and getting up, like 4 or 5 of you going up, 2 or 3 leave. You don't tend to see people, unless you're buying in a C-suite management team. You don't tend to see like founders of 5 or 6 all.
I think change is inevitable. It's going back to that adaptability. You know, I think if I look at the people who were here at the start and aren't here, you know, maybe a couple of them might be delighted, and you know, they've moved on and actually they're doing really well in what they're doing, and they've got more control now, or they just wanted to do something different. You know, maybe 1 or 2 are pissed off. I don't know, but it's about it's that, you know, businesses are living, breathing entities, and they do change. Markets change, people change, priorities change, and it's about how you deal with all of that. And it is difficult. It is very difficult. Every day is
a bit like getting married young, you know, and you just
exactly.
You want yet, and then all of a sudden it change.
Yeah, and I'm not the same person I was in 2009 when we started Coreco. I have the same vision. I have singularity of vision, but I'm not.
Clarity of vision actually came number 1 in the. They've done I think it was a Gallup survey recently. clarity of vision was the number one thing in the business checklist that you needed to run a success, or what they, I think it was 30,000 companies or whatever, and the number one thing that came out of that was business clarity, or clarity of vision. Was the number one for the checklist.
Yeah, that's really important, and that vision is really important.
How do you get 55 people all buying into that vision and constantly making them but like keeping them up to date on the vision and that kind of thing? Because you're a bit of a juggernaut to turn. You know what I mean? When new people are joining, leaving, etc. Like it's how do you
think again you have to be realistic about it. I mean, it's, you know, you do see some successful, what I would define as very successful companies who do that incredibly well. But I think the reality of it is you can't be all things to all people.
Yeah.
And I think if you actually, I'd like to believe that everyone at Coreco loves it and they know where we're going, they're really happy. I would be naive to actually think that.
Yeah.
It's about continuing to repeat your vision, continuing to explain changes where you think you need to change or pivot or do something different because circumstances or market dictates. It's about how you deal with people when they're not happy, because you cannot make everyone happy all the time. I think there are enough people who have left Coreco thinking, what a great place, I'm really, really pleased I went there. But I have to accept there are also people who think, God, what, you know.
Well, I mean, that is the nature of bigger business as well, right? So you lose 10% of your people, seems like quite a lot. All of a sudden, it's got this revolving door policy, whereas one-man van loses 10, or 4-5-man van loses 20%. It's not a big deal. So it's relative, isn't it? You know, like it must be. It's harder to maintain at your end, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
because
it is hard. It's difficult because I do take things personally, and in my old
do you not treat it like a business transaction? You know, like I used to take everything personally as a personal attack on me. Once I understood that it's just it's a business decision, etc., then it kind of makes it easier to swallow. But
I think now I'm a lot more. Absolutely. But my ideal is still that we have a lovely sitting round holding hands. What
everyone
a great
wants
place.
to come earn money and be happy,
etc. So that's still
always the aim. Harder to maintain. Sorry, I keep interrupting. But what point does that become harder to maintain? Because like there's 5 you starting, you've all got this vision, and then you get to maybe 10, 15. At what point does it get trickier to kind of, or the next sort of growing pain after that? After your initial great core of people, when's the next tricky bit in how you kind of get to the next level? Because like I said, there's not many people get to that level. Most firms are under 10 people. Well, like 90% of firms are under 10 people.
No, they are. I think it's when you get 15. If I look back and think when you're 15 to 20, I think you're all in it together. I think above that you start to get other people in, and then 20 to 40 you sort of lose a bit more control, and then 40 plus it's
and is it just because you don't get the personal touch you think with it? This is like it's much more numbers and metrics because you can't individually go around 50 people and make sure they're all happy and how they were at the weekend, etc. Do you think that's relatable to the size of the business?
Yeah, I think it becomes harder. I think it also depends on the role of that person doing it. I mean, if that could be what I do each and every day is having the time to go around and speaking to people and make sure that they're okay, and that that I'd love that would be great. But the reality is that you don't have time to do that. And then you have to trust that managers are getting I'm blessed with a great senior management team, all female, who are fantastic. But you do have to trust in them to actually make sure that they're getting the vision out, and it's not like Chinese whispers.
Yeah.
that you start off
Well, funny enough,
saying one thing and it comes out as something else.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a blessing on the other side of that, in the sense that we've taken a couple of girls recently who come from a very good business, great directors, awful managers, and I just think that's really kind of resonates with me, that as we grow, they've got to be a direct reflection on you, haven't they? They can't be a great director of business, great vision, great founder, owner, vision, and then a knobhead manager. It's just tough, you know.
I mean that does happen. I've been on the recipient of knobhead managers in my past, and it doesn't go well because I'm quite
bizarre,
feisty.
doesn't it? How you work so hard to grow something, and then you give it to someone who is not a direct reflection of you.
Yeah, I think it's. I think in the mortgage industry, especially, and maybe not so much now, but definitely previously, it was, well, you're a good broker, so therefore you'll be a good manager. And as you grow as a broker and become more successful as a broker, you then go into management. But that's not necessarily the you need very different skills,
different skill set, isn't it?
as a broker to a manager. There are some who do it really well, but there are an awful lot who it's not transferable. The singular vision you need to have as a broker and etc. sometimes doesn't dictate into
best brokers in the industry
management.
I know that are never going to be managers. They're just great.
No,
brokers.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're very singularly minded, competitive individuals, but actually have no interest in helping other people progress their careers. And if you're not interested in that, don't be a manager, don't be a leader. Like, it's not. It's a
no, exactly.
It's not,
yeah, totally agree.
There should be another echelon of promotion where you're not a manager, you're just amazing at what you do. Because it feels like, you hit that little point and you go, well, I've got to become a manager. And actually you don't, because you might be shit at it and you're really good at broking. And then it just destroys anything you've done. It's how do you pick your leaders, actually, on that? How do you pick them early on? Do you see it? How do you...
I think you can see it. Yeah, absolutely. I think you can see it. Bearing in mind no one's a finished article, but you can see attributes within certain people. You can see how they conduct themselves, how they deal with problems themselves, how they deal with people, how they react when someone around them is having an issue. You really can spot it.
Does that get clocked for a later date? Is that just a mental note, or is that something you look at and go, that guy might have it, or that girl's got this behaviour that we love?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what you try and encourage and nurture. And
how do you go for the other point of it then, Monty? How do you get the other side of it, where you've got really good brokers who want to be managers and they're not got the skill set for it? How do you address that?
It's that's a really good question. I think it's asking them to not just say they want to do it, but actually start behaving like it. So actually really good. So I had one piece of advice I had when I wanted to go from admin to broker was, if you want to do that, start acting like a broker. And those were the days when there was a bit, if you're broker, a bit more. Yeah. And, but actually start making people look at you and think, yeah, you're a broker, rather than just cheeky Monty who's, admin and messing around. Start acting. If you want to be a manager, start acting like one now. Don't wait until you're a manager. Actually show the attributes, actually show you're helping people, actually show that if you've been given a task you don't really want to do, you just do it, you don't moan about it. Actually show all the attributes, because management is really hard, because you're, I don't know if I can swear on your podcast, because it's a shit sandwich, isn't it, a manager? Because you get shit up from people and you get shit down. And you're the bit in the middle. You're the buffer on both of those. So it's about, how do you take the stuff up that's moaning about, the company or this or that, or that issue, and listen to them without just throwing the people at the top under the bus, and vice versa. If someone's going, oh, this guy's or girl's not performing, don't throw them under the bus. How do you manage up and manage down? And that's really a really difficult part
That's
of
a hell of
being
a skill,
certainly a
isn't it?
middle
That's a hell of
management.
a skill. Yeah, middle management is a skill, like you said,
Yeah,
it's a tough skill to keep your
yeah,
bosses happy and keep your team
yeah,
happy. Because
yeah,
inevitably someone got, it's
yeah.
got to give somewhere,
And
isn't it? Like someone's
yeah,
got
and
to.
people think it's just about managing down. It's not. The best managers manage up, and that's it. And I think what my team are really good at now is managing me, and
Yeah.
that's really important. That's exactly what I want them to do. So
Mm-hmm. How
they
easy is
don't
that to
just come
manage
to
you?
me. I'm a nightmare probably. I've always been a nightmare
Self-awareness,
to
one of the most
manage.
important traits.
Yeah, no, it's about for me. It's always been about respect.
Yeah.
And if I respect someone and I see that they're being authentic and making decisions that for a reason that's well explained, then I can live with that. What I
Yeah.
can't deal with is people with whose egos are out of the stratosphere, or who are
Yeah.
just
Which
doing
that also
themselves to make
does is a
themselves
trait of
look
middle
good.
management as well. You know, the old, I mean, this is back in the day, but, you know, the middle management of, you know, they're taking the chairs away types. You know,
Yeah.
the carrot side. We can't, you physically can't do that anymore. I mean, you can anyway.
No, you
But,
can't. Bloody work
but
though.
yeah, it worked. Do you know what? I grew up in the sales team of that environment.
Mm,
So for me, that's not bullying or mean or anything. It was just a guy that wanted everyone to perform at their best.
yeah.
I think if you brought that into set, and you must see it now because you probably maybe like second, third generation of brokers coming through.
Mm.
You have to treat people very differently now, I think, and you can't go through the old way of doing stuff. You know,
No,
people
you can't.
people need a little bit more from you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not. Yeah. It's about. Yeah. The management is much more nuanced now than it used to be. You know,
you've
in
set in
the old
stone is
days,
your
you're
target.
threatened. Everything you do, you're just threatened with being fired or, called
Oh, do you know what I
names
was telling
or.
you someone the other day? My only ever employed job, I was constantly, even though I was always top two in the company, I was constantly in fear of being sacked. One, because the
Yeah.
CEO was nuts, but two, just because they constantly let you know that someone else could fill your seat tomorrow. You
Yeah.
know,
Exactly.
nowadays
Yeah.
people just quit. You
Yeah.
just go, no, I don't need that pressure. But I loved it. I thrived on it. But they never felt that
Yeah.
the
I
job
mean,
was safe.
it's how you deal with the pressure. I quite enjoyed it, but yeah, it's not. There's better ways. I think I learned more about how not to manage than I
Yeah.
learned how to manage.
I think
There
that
was
is the benefit,
one
isn't it?
really
Having
good.
bad managers.
Yeah,
If you have a
there
bad
was.
manager around you, you know what not to do.
Yeah, exactly. And they're the ones who will, they'll ball you out in front of everyone. There's a real blame culture. It's everyone else's fault but
I hear
theirs,
of it all the
and
time. You know,
that's
I
what I
still
don't
hear of
like.
it. People getting screamed at in the office and stuff. I just think, like, in this day, look, what has someone done? Unless they're stealing from you or they're doing something that's bringing the business into disrepute, actually screaming at someone is
Yeah,
beyond me.
it
And we
doesn't
hear it.
get
Obviously, we're
anyone
recruitment.
anywhere.
No,
No.
we were in recruitment. We hear it all the time. Like, I love someone, sales manager somewhere shouting at their team like they're children because that gives us 6 new people to speak to the next day because no one wants to be treated like that. You know, we're all in it to make money and
Yeah.
it's just true, though, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
we're all adults. You don't need to be shouted at and told what's right, and what's wrong.
No, I think that's hopefully a lot of that is gone. You
Mm.
can't treat people like that. You need to be respectful. You can't call people names. There's a whole
We
thing.
need, the
We
guys
want
that
to
don't grow like
encourage people into the industry because it's a
yeah,
great industry. And again, everything we're doing with Amy and the whole working in mortgages thing, which is a great website to check out, is all about where are the new people, where are the new diverse people within the industry who we want to come in, and if a schmuck like me can do okay, then it really
anyone
is a
can.
good place.
How is that? Just in regards to the diversity, inclusivity, etc. I mean, we are predominantly a white middle-aged man, and obviously two similar people talking at the moment.
Who are you calling middle-aged?
Well, I'm assuming if I die at 70. But can you see the change? Is it tick box exercise? Are people actually? Is it noticeable difference? Because you still see panels of teams as white middle-aged men. You know, financial services is that old school. You know, the old school.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to use the phrase, but you know, it's there's a very particular person that went into it. How have you seen that change? And is it dramatic, or is it just kind of happening, or is it happening at all?
I think it was changing over time. Generally, I think definitely the work that we started doing with the first diversity report a couple of years ago, and all the good work that Mortgage Solutions and their DIF project are doing, and IMLA and what they're doing with their diversity work is really good, and it's starting to make a difference. We're starting to see there is more. If you go to an event now, there's definitely more females. There's definitely more diverse, more people from diverse backgrounds.
Yeah.
But it's the tip of an iceberg.
How do we do anything about this? Is going to sound like an old man, but because obviously you're looking for mortgage brokers, yeah. So obviously we're in recruitment, so we're finding you mortgage brokers. As important as diversity and that side of things is, we want to get you the best mortgage broker at the end of the day to come and work for your company. So how do you add that extra layer on to make sure you're getting the equality, the diversity side of things, but also you're getting the pick of the bunch as well?
It's a question. It's a really good question. It's a question that I remember Dom Scott said when he was at Alexander Hall. He said it's about fishing in a different pond. But I think it's in how we promote. How we promote the industry, how we do our job adverts, how we use our language, how we do our interview processes.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of good people in there who are probably better than some of the so-called been around the block, I'm quite experienced person, who are just looking at the industry and going, oh, I can't see anyone like me in it. Maybe it's not for me.
Yeah.
I've read this. It doesn't sound very. It doesn't sound very.
Is that just an education
well written
bit as
or
well?
appealing
Like
to me? I think it's a massive education bit.
Yeah.
It's massive education. That's the whole working in mortgages piece around how do we attract people, and actually showcase that this mortgage industry is, it really is for everyone. You don't need to have gone to uni. You don't need a degree. You don't need bloody O levels or A levels.
You're selling to such a diverse crowd as a broker.
Correct.
So, you don't have to be that stuffy pinstripe suit guy anymore. It's just...
No, it's not that like that at all now. It's about people by people, and going back to what I said about people want to see themselves reflected in the firms they do business with.
Yeah.
If I look at Coreco, we do recruit on personality quite a lot, rather than just ability. And I think
we absolutely wax lyrical about this because we do behavioural testing and that kind of thing. Because one of the things I always think is broken about recruitment as a whole is that we hire on experience, yet we fire on behaviours. It doesn't make sense to do that at the beginning.
No, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. Because you can teach skills, you can't teach attitude.
Yeah, and behaviour. Yeah, exactly. These are deep set behaviours they're ingrained. So it's not something that you can teach up. Like you say, you can teach people. Some with the right attitude, you can teach the right skills.
Yeah.
But I've always thought that was bizarre. That we work on CVs. We don't personally. We do videos and stuff, but working off a CV and not off someone's behaviours just doesn't make sense to me. Because no one gets sacked because they're experienced, do they? They get sacked because the way they are.
And it's just things like if I ask you for 5 CVs, I guess you do have to instruct a bit of change. If you're going to send me 5 CVs, I don't want to see 5 CVs from 5 white blokes. And that might sound wrong.
Even
but,
if, but
again,
actually, just putting my devil's advocate hat on, even if those 5 blokes are the best mortgage brokers you could get, you would take the hit on that to.
I think there's got to be some choice there.
Yeah.
I think there has to be some choice because you have to make a start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. And are they really the 5 best? Really? I don't know. I don't know. It's
it's interesting to see if it's because it's a tightrope between quality and keeping everyone happy. You know, it's always going to be that because we are massively dominated by one species.
Historically speaking, but if you're looking at new people, into the industry,
I think that's important.
It doesn't
with
have to be the same
and that kind of thing as well. You can't be looking at the same things that people have looked at for years. I think that's really important. There's some really good training academies out there, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Really
and that diversity of thought is so important. It's so important because if you have 5 of the same people sitting around a board, you might say, "Oh, that's really good. We all agree." Really?
Yeah.
What if you all agree you're doing the wrong thing?
Well, funny enough, I think
you just carry on blindly.
I think Rob Jupp said it on one of the podcasts. He said, if you build a management team that is like you might as well not have a management team.
Yeah, correct.
Not to build things around you who can kind of challenge you and say that's stupid. Why is that? And it's same as diversity, isn't it? You can't build you. I think that's where I first failed in business. Actually, is when I started out and I thought, I just get a load of me, and then you realise there's only one idiot in every company. You can't have 6 of you. It doesn't really work out.
I'm the only idiot in the company.
Yeah, I've got that badge already, so you can't take. But it's true, isn't it? You kind of don't see it at the beginning, do you? You just think, 5 more of me will make sense because I do the X, Y. Actually, what I needed was something completely different. I needed operational people with empathy and curiosity, that kind of thing. Yeah. Maybe I didn't have because I was good at what I did, but actually.
I listened to there was a podcast the other day. What was it? And they said, too many people start businesses with the person on the same course of them at college. What you actually need to do is actually leave the faculty. It was American. Leave the faculty, go across the road to someone who does studying something completely different. And say, right, you've got completely different skills and outlook. I want to start a business with you.
Well, I think, again,
that's what would work.
Back full circle to what we talked about at the beginning is why it's so important to have someone with that marketing head. Because actually 2 really good mortgage brokers doth not make a good mortgage company. What it makes is 2 really good mortgage brokers trying to find leads and, just running everything themselves. But actually having that bit of diversity from a different background, like you said, from marketing or anything like that, to where you can have another look at it, it makes much more sense. I genuinely see it in businesses like yours. Like they've got to have a few more skills than just being able to sell mortgages. Yeah,
if you want to grow, it's fine being 2 mortgage brokers who just want to write business until the cows come home. And I know some really successful brokers who, that's what they do. There are 2 or 3 of them.
There are the middle ground ones where it used to be like a badge of honour. 1 or 2 man band is because you could work hard and work from 6 in the morning until 10 at night. And now you've got guys who, again, it's the bottom end of the market, but the dog's got anxiety and they want to walk that in a day and they want to do 2 mortgages a month. And I actually don't think that is good for the industry. Those guys, because they don't learn anymore. They're not striving to get better. They're not really accountable to anyone. I think there's too many of them in the market. Maybe that's a contentious issue, but I just think without the people around you.
Yeah, I think choices. I think choice and again diversity of the type of firm is good. I think there's no one definition of success. Success for one firm might be making loads of profit and selling for millions. For others, it might just be, do you know what? I've got a work-life balance that's brilliant. I earn well, I can do the school run, walk the dog, cook the wife dinner, and that's actually that's success. And actually, that's
I think it's
why
great success for the individual. My biggest concern of those guys is that not pushing an industry where the bar is relatively low to get into, not pushing it further on because they don't need to. I think that industry-wise, that's great if someone does that, want to do that, and they're very happy and comfortable in it. I just think as an industry, if everyone is working on that, not everyone, but they're working along those lines, we're never progressing, we're never getting better, we're never kind of learning.
Well, I think as long as they're looking after their clients, then is it really an issue? And if you've got firms who want to push the boundaries and want to grow, and then that's fine. But if you've got good people who will just look after the same pool of clients and then their clients' kids and just deal with referrals until they retire and then sell the book, hopefully to Coreco, when they're like 60,
life continues.
Then that's also fine. I don't have an issue with that as long as the quality of what they're doing and the quality of them looking after their advice. And I think we're blessed in this industry with a lot of good people. There's still some people who maybe shouldn't be in it, but and as I say,
I just think there's a lot of people who, through no fault of their own, have not been trained well enough. I think it's too
I think training has been
low bar to come in, and it's someone promise you.
I
X,
agree
Y,
with that.
When you come in, there's hundreds of those companies that get your CMAP, earn $100,000, and then leave you in the back of an office to try and work out how to market yourself. There's too many of those.
Yeah, I do agree with that. But hopefully hopefully new people coming in and joining companies who get it a lot more now. I think. If you're joining a company and thinking that you can earn 60, 80, 100 grand in your first year, you're just being misled.
Yeah.
Because that's
you've got a really good referral from your dad. Something's happening.
You got a really good referral chain. Yeah. You need to work hard. I think that's the issue. People think,
you know what? Nail on the head. I don't think people appreciate it.
It's a tough job. It's always been a tough job. Yeah. It can be $100 grand a year job, but it's not going to happen overnight.
No.
And to sustain that,
I would say to the guys who are still buying leads after 10 years, and they're still the guys who refuse to do the PTs because they weren't making any money out of it. And I think they're the guys that struggled now because actually, if you just
because that's
a little bit harder when it was
short-sighted.
Yeah. But I think that's going to come to fruition. The relationship building people.
Yeah, the brokers who are successful get it, and they'll treat everyone the same. They'll do a PT that doesn't earn them much, but it doesn't matter. They might do a small mortgage or a small further advance.
From like a selfish point of view, a PT keeps someone on the books. Someone else is talking to them about their life insurance and their mortgage next time it comes around. It seems crazy for me not to.
And it's another chance to ask for referrals. You don't know who their mate is.
No.
Their mate.
Funny enough, I was speaking to a commercial broker the other day, very similar. He did a 60 grand mortgage for someone. It's a big, so small fry. And the guy, one of his biggest portfolios that he's got is like a £30 million portfolio, came off the back of the guy who he took the 20 grand mortgage for. So you just don't know, or 60 grand, sorry, you don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know who that guy knows.
Exactly. That story is pretty common around, and the good brokers know that. And they will, and that's what I always saw at Charcoal back in the day was the people who really wrote good business. They just deal with everyone. They deal with people, and that's what they.
It's still a people business.
The buzz is,
Good. Sorry, I've just looked at the time. It's been an hour and 15. I thought it was half an hour. Sorry.
I want me lunch.
I've really enjoyed it, but I ask everyone this the last thing. So if you can give one bit of advice to any new brokers starting out now, what would it be?
Be true to yourself. Be yourself. Don't try and be someone you're not. You do have you have skills They might not be like everyone else's skills, but you have your own individual skills. Embrace it.
Nice, brilliant, nice way to end it. Thank you very much, and I appreciate, like I said, your time.
All right, no worries, mate.
Just get everyone in on a half-hour slot, and then just turn them over for 90 minutes. It's easy to do.
Well, might be my fault. I tend to witter on.
That's me. I'm the worst. So thank you for everyone listening on Spotify, watch on YouTube. It's been another episode of NRG Insights with Monty. If anyone wants to get hold of Monty, by the way, we've got all his socials and everything attached to it. If there's any questions you've got, then we will put them all on the blogs, websites, wherever this goes out. And we will go from there. Thank you very much for your time, Monty. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, thank you very much for that.